Hello everyone, I'm Luisa Howard and I'm a postdoctoral researcher in industrial heritage and tourism from the University of São Paulo, Brazil. I would just thank Francesco Antoniol for the invitation to industrial heritage in the COVID-19 aftermath, as well as my Brazilian colleagues representing Brazilians industrial heritage professionals and researchers. Well, Brazil is in the middle of the historical pandemic while facing deep social inequality and having a large population vulnerable to infections, disease, with tens of thousands of these citizens already sick or dying. Like most countries worldwide, we have been quarantined since March. Unfortunately, Brazil's approaching of pressing forward with reopening strategies meant to reduce the economic impact at the cost of the lives and the health of our people is proving disastrous. Our president continues to push the virtues of anti-malaria medicine and openly absurd the proven worldwide strategy of containing the disease. Adding to the impact of COVID-19 in having on Brazil, we were already facing an ever-increasing economic crisis and ideological division largely driven to growing right-wing ultranationalism and government-led destruction of programs meant to preserve our cultural and heritage initiatives. Cristina, Aline and I will speak on the effects of pandemic from the view of heritage politics, higher education, and research here in Brazil. Finally, Alice is going to show an initiative that is being held during the pandemic called #Museologist Train Live. I hope you enjoy it.
Hello, I'm Cristina MENEGUELLO. I'm a historian. I teach at the State University of Campinas, São Paulo, Brazil. I am a founder of the TICCIH-Brazil. Nowadays, I'm the Vice President of Brazilian TICCIH, and for years I was a national representative for Brazil. I have, on different occasions, had the opportunity of talking about Brazilian industrial heritage, its specificities and its challenges. Today, I have to talk about our current political situation that is endangering our heritage as a whole, and for this reason, menacing the preservation of Brazilian industrial heritage. From 2016 on, and most specifically since the start of the current Brazilian government, we are witnessing daily attacks to our institutions and civil rights and the weakening of our cultural institutions. Our Ministry of Culture was extinct. Our National Institution for the Preservation of National Heritage, called IFAM, is under political and institutional attack. For its presidency, the Brazilian government has nominated a person who graduated in hotel management with no experience in the field of heritage at all. That indicates a general objective of dismantling the local and national institutions that work for the research, analysis, and conservation of heritage. There is a lack of investment in safeguard policies and the relaxation of protection laws relating to the indigenous lands, to the Amazonian rainforest, and there is the destruction of heritage sites. We are experiencing the COVID pandemic in hard conditions as we are a country defined by social inequalities. And this situation will most certainly damage our industrial heritage. We will face great difficulties in the near future. We call the international community of industrial heritage specialists to get closer to the Brazilian specialists, to support us, and please support our fight.
Hi everyone, my name is Aline de CARVALHO. I'm an architect, an academic from the Federal University of Bahia, we call it UFBA, and a member of TICCIH-Brazil's board. I'm here today to talk briefly about the industrial heritage in the academic scenario. We have a good number of universities and several of them develop researches about industrial heritage all around the country. From the 1970s, we have researchers dedicated to these studies, with documentations and proposals for conservation and preservation of the industrial heritage in Brazil. As you could see in the previous talk, Brazil is in a very critical moment for culture and also for education. Higher education had a good development from 2003 to 2014 with a growth in investments for the research field. From 2016, higher education has been suffering greatly with cuts in the budget for the maintenance of the universities. Investments in research also started decreasing that year. In 2019, we already suffered with great cuts in graduation and post-graduation scholarships. So this is the scenario before COVID-19. With COVID-19, the government has the excuse to decrease investments in education, and the investments for research are going to be directed mainly to priority technology areas. That means that researchers in fields like culture and human areas are not supposed to move forward. And well, after all this, I believe teaching is going to be almost the same. We have been already experiencing some changes. Professors have been developing researches in graduation courses with industrial heritage, and we need to put the effort to keep these studies. Scholarships are going to be very less. They were already not good enough for what we need, and also resources at universities decreasing more and more, as we already have an economical crisis installed. This will reduce for sure the speed of the studies, but professors should keep them up. At UFBA right now, we are developing a website to document the industrial heritage of Bahia and also the interventions around the world. We were supposed to enroll students with scholarships, but unfortunately we won't be able to enroll them this year and probably also not in the coming years. But the research will for sure go on. We should keep fighting for education and for the research in the industrial heritage field. And we ask for the international support for our fight.
The most popular incentive law in Brazil for cultural affairs, known as Rouanet Law, mobilized about $10 billion currency conversion May 2020 between 1993 and 2018. This law represents 8% of Brazilian government's investment in culture. The project, based under the law, mobilized close to a quarter of the capital used for cultural heritage, according to the Getúlio Vargas Foundation, and made possible financing of cultural books and exhibitions. Support through the Rouanet Law can be requested by individuals, legal entities, or private legal entities operating in the cultural sector. In 2010, like other researchers, I requested funding under this law to produce 2 books and 1 exhibition about industrial heritage. As of 2019, the funding under the Rouanet Law has been reduced by 98%, from $10 million to only $200,000, currency conversion May 2020. This obviously has severely impacted by seeking funding for cultural and historic projects.
Meu nome é Alice Bemvenuti, sou museóloga, diretora do Museu do Trem de São Leopoldo, Rio Grande do Sul.
My name is Alice Bemvenuti. I am a museologist, director of the Train Museum in São Leopoldo, member of the International Committee for the Conservation of the Industrial Heritage. Situated in a historic site of 12,600 square meters in the city center, the museum is next to the subway station and consists of a reconstructed station, a cargo warehouse, locomotives, passenger cars, miscellaneous objects, and a documentary and photo collection in glass negatives. In view of the impact and uncertainties in this pandemic moment, we ask ourselves, how to manage a museum that cannot be accessed by its public? How to offer a meeting to the public in some way? Although such questions are not fully answered, we start the Museologist Train Live project to think about the museum in this scenario with the limitations imposed, proposing a circle of debate. Although such questions are not fully answered, we started the Museologist Train Live project to think about the museum in this scenario, with the limitations imposed, proposing a cycle of debate with weekly meetings between researchers, railroad workers, and museum workers. We do not intend to replace a face-to-face visit to the museum. However, there is a real need for the meeting, the subject being the railway, industrial heritage, and the museum. But above all the public and the reflections on heritage, the preservation of goods, memory, life, and existence itself. The idea is not to propose another entertainment activity through a digital tool. The proposal is complex, to exist as a museum in people's lives. Finding a place for the museum at this time also means redefining a place in time and space, now virtual, since isolation with physical distance. But there is an alternative, and we need to take advantage of it. The insecurity with the use of digital technologies cannot create an obstruction for the proposal of the Museu do Trem Live. So, first, we get in touch with the families of railway workers and help them learn how to use the tools. We conduct informal conversations to stimulate familiarization through cell phone screens and to figure out new bodily and cognitive demands. For some people, children and grandchildren helped to access the use of technology. We encourage people so that difficulties and frustrations did not discourage participation, shortening the distances. That's the point. We understand that the museum's commitment also includes welcoming and bringing together. This allows us to reflect our social function. The Museu do Trem Live project brings together academic researchers with railway workers and their families. It is a democratic experience where speaking is of equal value to all guests. The number of views on the Facebook page, Museu do Trem Oficial, surprised us and showed us that somehow we started to be received in the homes and in the routine of people in isolation. Another extremely important aspect to highlight is the lack of knowledge of Brazilian railway museums among themselves. Based on a previous mapping carried out by me and available in the master's dissertation, the Museu do Trem Live project invited some managers and museologists of railway museums to debate, from the most traditional to the memory spaces. A moment that will also be dated by the approximation between the museological institutions that safeguard the railway industrial heritage in a country of continental dimensions. The task continues as we still have many challenges to solve specific issues of museum processes.
Industrial heritage may seem like a utopian dream in these days of dystopian reality. However, without the utopian dream, it is impossible to build our fullest lives. Thank you.